for operating legally under state law, but perhaps not under federal law?
Well, there's not much I can add to what I've said before on this subject, but I think people have lost sight a little bit of the prior statements of the office on this. I can say that on the one hand, marijuana cultivation and trafficking is unambiguously illegal under federal law. It just is. Now, I'm not a policymaker. I'm a law enforcement officer. I work in the executive branch. My sworn job is to enforce federal law. All right. Now, that said, the #1 enforcement priority for my office is the opioid crisis. As I was pointing out to someone the other day, 2,100 people in Massachusetts were killed by opioid overdoses last year, not marijuana overdoses. So that is where my resources are going right now. And that's really the best I can say. What I can't do is in advance say that a category of people working in the state of Massachusetts with marijuana are immune from federal prosecution. I can't do that. I'm not allowed to do that. And so I won't do that. The best I can say is remind people it's illegal under federal law, but make clear that we do cases on a case-by-case basis. And the #1 drug enforcement priority for us is not marijuana, it's opioids.
And just a quick follow-up, this is obviously a nascent industry here in Massachusetts. The first store is supposed to open in July. Should business owners be concerned that they could face federal charges if in fact they go ahead and open up?
Well, I think the problem is, not to repeat myself, but to repeat myself, it's illegal. It's a federal crime. It's a federal crime like dumping toxic waste can be a federal crime, like selling meth could be a federal crime, like race or sex-based discrimination can violate federal law. It's a federal crime. So I think that understandably causes some concern among people who want to work in the new marijuana industry, but and I get that, but there's not much I can do about that except to say that I have about 14 prosecutors who specialize in drug enforcement. I can tell you that all 14 of them are spending the bulk of their time chasing down bulk trafficking of heroin and opioids.
So how do you differentiate between who you go after and who you don't?
Hi, I'm Andrew. Who are you?
Sorry, Laurel Sweet. Oh, I'm sorry, Laurel Sweet from the Boston.
Hi, Laurel. Well, we do that every day, right? We do case intake every day. So I can tell you that I take it you're asking how do we decide what marijuana cases to take or not take?
Yeah, if you use the word discretion and you use the word case by case, how do you differentiate?
Well, I think the best way to answer that is to say that historically the marijuana cases that we have pursued have almost always been bulk importation of marijuana from Canada or from Mexico, accompanied with some kind of money laundering. That's the traditional marijuana case that rises to the level of a federal prosecution. Beyond that, all I can say is we do these case by case. We take a look at the case as it comes in from the law enforcement agency. We see if that case is big enough or involves enough money or would have enough of an impact to warrant taking one of the 14 people or so who I have doing this and devote their time to that case.
Did you want to I was just going to say, would you tell people going into this industry just to be chill at this point?
Well, I know the Globe did. I would not dare to say anything directly to the people entering this industry. Because again, something I'm sensitive to, I know if you want to go into this industry and you're not in law enforcement or a lawyer, that this may seem unsatisfying, but I'm not a policymaker. I just deal with the law as it is, right? The law as it should be, that's somebody else. And I don't comment on that. I deal with the law as it is.
Can I ask you about a similar issue? My name's Bob Ward. I'm a reporter for Fox 25. Immigration, almost the same setup where the federal government seems to have one set of policies and state governments are adopting something different in sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. How aggressive do you feel that your office will be on illegal immigration over your term?
I agree with you. There's some similarity in that you have states sort of resisting sort of a pre-existing federal law in that area. I can tell you that when it comes to immigration enforcement, we will be more aggressive. That is a priority coming out of Washington. It's important to the president. It's important to the attorney general. I think you will see increased immigration enforcement from my office. That sort of has two flavors. One is in cases we traditionally do, say drug trafficking, you may see more immigration-related charges included in those cases. And I think you'll also see that we do more standalone immigration cases, either false marriage type cases. We recently had a trial that ended in a conviction in a case involving marriage in order to get citizenship in the United States, or in illegal reentry type cases. We recently had a case involving a Honduran man who we charged with illegal reentry, who is wanted on a warrant for murder in his home country.
What if, Maria Kramer, Boston Globe. What about those immigrants who their only crime is illegal reentry? Are you going to be stepping up enforcement of them?
Well, I think the best I could say on that is we would much rather deal with people who are here illegally and have committed some other kind of offense. I think we would prioritize those, or prioritize people who are here illegally and have re-entered the country illegally multiple times, right? I think my guidance internally would be that we should focus on those cases first, and if we run out of those, do others. Because as the Attorney General has said, there is some intersection between, say, gang activity and illegal immigration to the United States, MS-13 being the perfect example. We took out most of MS-13 in New England. We indicted 60 or 61 MS-13 members last year. That was a great success by organized crime prosecutors and the agents and officers who worked on that case. But the ranks of that gang are being replenished, in part by illegal immigration from El Salvador. And so I think we would focus our energies on those kinds of cases first, and then see if we have resources left over for anything else.
Can we just pause with the cameras now? You guys are all set? Thanks. Hi, I'm Alana with the Associated Press. Going back to marijuana just briefly, I'm wondering if you can provide some clarity on medical marijuana. Do you intend to interfere with any legally licensed medical marijuana dispensary in the state?
Well, I think it's slightly easier with medical marijuana because my memory, and I mean you guys can fact check me on this, is there was a rider to a federal statute last year that prevented the government from using federal funds for prosecution of medical marijuana dispensaries. Mm-hmm. And so clearly the strong implication there from Congress is that Congress doesn't want pursuit of medical marijuana to be a priority for the department. So I think it's safe to say there that that would not be a priority for me.
Are you hoping for more clarity from Congress on marijuana in terms of state licensed facilities?
Well, I don't think I can comment on that. The department, you know, the Office of Legislative Affairs at the Department of Justice, it says whatever we're going to say about what we hope Congress will do. I think most I can point out is obviously there's a conflict between federal law as it stands now and the law in a handful of states that are moving toward legalization, which obviously puts federal law enforcement, you know, both me and federal agents, in a little bit of a bind. So we'd rather not be in the bind, but we'll leave it to others to figure it out.
Go ahead.
Oh, hi, I'm Craig Lamotte from WGBH. Hi. There's a bill in the State House that would ban state police and municipal police from going after marijuana. I was just can you get a reaction to that, to essentially sanctuary cities in the marijuana case?
Well, I understand that reaction from the state. I mean, I think that, like we're in a bind, I think the state and local police who we work with are also in a bit of a bind, right? So if you're a state law enforcement officer and you have literally sworn to uphold state law, you're now in a position where if you're assisting on a federal marijuana case, maybe there's a conflict between the state law you're supposed to uphold and the federal law that you were helping to enforce. So any breakdown in cooperation between the federal, state, and local law enforcement participants, I think is unfortunate. We work a lot with state and local police. We like doing that. They bring a lot to the table that we can't do. So at the end of the day, I think it kind of is what it is. I understand why the state did it. I just hope that this doesn't lead to tension in the numerous other kinds of investigations that we pursue along with state and local partners. When it comes to marijuana cases that we do, we have the resources. We can do them without the state and local partners. We'd rather not, but if it comes to that, we will.